Hey guys, so I saw this. This is from Pasta Reviews, and it kind of brings up the question that people have been asking about the Saw series for ages: is John Kramer in the right or in the wrong? Because he never actually kills anyone himself. He puts people in situations where they have to save themselves, and if they value life enough and they value their lives enough, they'll do what it takes to get themselves out of that situation. But I went to see Saw X. Interesting movie. I'm not gonna say it wasn't bad. Um, but it's just awkward. Mainly what was just being throwing everything off was Tobin Bell and Shawnee Smith. So the movie clearly takes place earlier in the Saw timeline, right? But Tobin Bell and Shawnee Smith are clearly so much older than what they should have been in that timeline. They could have, digitized, all that and made them look younger, but no, they look old. The first part of the movie was just basically the John Kramer wheezing and coughing show. We see him going about his day, going to therapy and this and that, and it's just like 30 minutes of like just that. um but this, I saw this, and this was actually part of the movie. So this machine will kill you unless you cut out a chunk of your own brain and dissolve it in an acid and turn it off, to prove you value life. Guy does it, but the machine kills him anyway because his brain chunk is too long to dissolve. I guess he didn't value life. So there's a couple times in the movie that happened where they did what they needed to do, but they weren't fast enough, so they had to die. So the dude, he had like this mask on him, right? And you could see that there's like wires and coils going through. So basically, what happens is when the mask shuts, it's a really cool looking mask too. When it shuts, it heats up and essentially melts his face. But he had to take out a chunk of his brain, put it into the acid and all that, and dissolve it, and that would open up the key for the key, and he could unlock himself and all that. He takes out a chunk of his brain, and it's in there dissolving. But it didn't dissolve fast enough, so boom, the thing shuts. He dies. Um, the first girl, same thing. She's got to cut through her own leg, uh, in order to drain the bone marrow from her leg. She cuts through it. She has the tube in the bone sucking out the marrow, but it didn't suck it out fast enough, so boop, she dies. So it's like they obviously valued their lives, but they still died because they weren't fast enough. I'm sorry, but if someone told me I gotta take out a chunk of my brain and I only have like 2-3 minutes to do it, obviously you're gonna weigh the pros and cons here. It's like, can I actually do that? Can I actually open a part of my brain? How much is the pain? Can I endure that? It's like you're thinking all these things. You're not gonna be able. Oh, okay. No one is gonna be able to do that. So, is what John Kramer is doing wrong? And it also harks back to like what I've said with Death Note, and a lot of people have said. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, is what Light is doing actually wrong? Yes, he does terrible things to get to this idea that he has, but is ridding the world of criminals really such a bad thing? Um, and it also goes out of its way to kind of show L doing terrible things to achieve his goal of capturing Kira. So you have the forces of good who are using terrible tactics. You have Light, who, in order to achieve good, is using. So they never really say Light's wrong. He's, this, he's that. It's up to the viewer to decide whether or not you think Light and Kira are justice or evil. Same thing with Saw. It's like, well, you see John Kramer, he's never actually murdered anyone himself. He's never actually killed anyone himself. He puts them into situations, and if they have the will to survive, uh, you know, but sometimes I think he doesn't take in consideration the pain tolerance for people. Like the first one I think we see is the with the eyes. So the dude, and it's just a vision, it's not an actual thing, but what way we see it, he's strapped in, his fingers are hooked up, and there's the dial on his side, and his eyes are hooked up to like suction, and within a certain amount of time, if he doesn't, his eyes right out of his skull. So in order to save himself, he's got to, turn the dial 5 times. In doing so, snaps and breaks each one of his fingers. And he starts doing it, the same thing. It's like even in his John's mind, it's just like it. So he's doing what he needs to survive. It's just he doesn't do it fast enough. Um, I should really like paint my red. Actually, no, his body is like um. So it's the same thing. It's that kind of seems to be a theme throughout the movie is that they do what they need to survive. Or the girl I forgot her name. The one who uh she was strapped one arm in the cuff, one she was like bound, one arm, one leg, and then she had to basically break her wrist and ankle to escape it because they had, like the radiation going right at her, and she survives. But then the woman who was supposed to be this good woman breaks her neck. So she does what she needs to survive, but then dies anyway. So like the movie is a downer because pretty much everyone dies. Everyone dies. Uh, um, normally there's a survivor or something, but it's like everyone dies. Even the people who survive, they die, and it's just not like Saw. When you think about it, it's not like what that's not John Kramer's philosophy. It's like he gives them a chance to survive. But again, I'm 3 minutes to cut out a chunk of your brain. No one can sit here and tell me they can do that in 3 minutes because there's going to be so many freaking things going through your mind. Yes, survival is up there, but you're not going to be again. You're not going to be able to just okay, slice. Okay, there we go. You're not going to be able to do that. So it's almost like he does want to kill people because he sets these impossible times. It's like, you have 3 minutes to cut open your skull and remove your brain. It's like, I can't do it in that short of a time. Give me like 5 minutes. Maybe I can do it then. Same thing with the with her having to cut her leg off. Same thing. It's like you have 3 minutes to cut off your leg and then suck out all the bone marrow in your leg and fill it to where it tips and opens it. And she removes her leg. She's got it, and it's going into the machine. And it's like this long freaking pipe that's going through. And because there's so little of it, obviously it's going through that pipe a lot slower than it would be if there was a strong flow going. But this is where people have a problem with John Kramer as a character because of situations like that, where they clearly do have the desire to succeed and to live, but then they die because they weren't fast enough. You have 3 minutes to cut off your leg and drain your marrow. You have 3 minutes to cut open your skull and take out a chunk of your brain and put it in and let it dissolve. It's like, do you know how slow it is to? So basically, they had to do automatically just and then because it's going to take like 2.5 minutes just to dissolve. This is the problem I think people have with that character. It's like, oh, well, I can kind of see where he's coming from, but then he puts them into these impossible situations sometimes. He doesn't take into account that it might take more than 2 minutes for that piece of brain to dissolve. Like the guy is highly regarded as like this genius, and And then when you look at the traps and some of these situations, you're like, apparently he's not. To cut into your skull and to do all that and for it to dissolve. And he didn't take out a huge chunk. It was like a little tiny, almost like a tiny chunk. And that thing was dissolving slowly. So it would have taken 2-3 minutes just for the piece to dissolve. So he pretty much had to cut open his head instantly and just do it. No one's going to do that. So is John Kramer a murderer, or is he just someone who has a right idea who just isn't fully thinking it out? Uh, Let me know what you guys think, and if you saw X, what you thought of it. But it's time to play. I want to play a game. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.